Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down the top 10 best things of the 1970s. The 70s was a time for funkiness in film, clothing, music, and scandals. Quick disclaimer, the 70s were not all good. Several bad things were going on, like the Vietnam War, which caused major resource depletion for the U.S. government, which led to the public starting anti-war protests. In 1973, President Richard Nixon signed the Paris Peace Accords, which finally ended U.S. involvement. Also, this was a time of detente period of the Cold War, which brought a time of relaxation. Alright, it's time to start the fun part.
Number 10, Muhammad Ali. The 70s was the peak in Ali's boxing career. Even though he took his first defeat at the fight of the century against Joe Frazier in 1971, he rematched him in 74, winning all 12 rounds. He then goes on to win almost every match until his retirement in 79. Also going on at the time, Brazil won their third World Cup, the American Football League and NFL merged, and there was controversy over the U.S. versus Soviet Union men's basketball game at the Olympics in the midst of the Cold War.
Number 9. Motorsports and cars. In motorsports, Formula One started their ground effects era. This would not only bring the cars to the fastest ever, but it would also eventually help road cars. Also, some amazing new cars came out that would shape the future, such as the Corvette Stingray and the 1970 Dodge Challenger. Some consumer groups campaigned for safer cars. This would result in the introduction of seat belts and braking systems.
Number 8, rock and roll. Some of the best rock and roll of all time was recorded in the 70s. From David Bowie to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, the list we could make inside this list would be going on for days.
Number 7, hip-hop. A new genre emerged called hip-hop, which grew with Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash, the Sugar Hill Gang, and the Ghetto Brothers. Specifically, it started in the Bronx in New York City, while Kool Herc held his hip-hop parties. Rap also emerged throughout this development as well.
Number 6. Fashion. The top 4 fashion trends during the time were bell-bottom jeans, army jackets, shirts and jackets with wide lapels, and tie-dye. There was maximum funk. Clothing styles during the early 70s were not much different than the 60s when the hippie look ruled. But in the late 70s, disco took over.
Number 5, vinyl. Very popular because it was affordable. Also gave people more access to listen to music instead of having to listen to it live. This changed the music industry greatly as it made singers and bands more popular.
Number 4, the digital camera. The digital camera was developed by engineer Steven Sasson in 1975. It led to better quality photos and film, which made taking photos and videos of things a lot easier. Soon, lots of people started taking photos, and it changed the way people viewed the world by seeing it in a new, higher quality way.
Number 3. Star Wars. This was a huge moment in film. The effects were high-tech, and overall, it was unique. When it released in 1977, it was the first science fiction space adventure to be released to a mass audience. The movie build-up was intense, and every single release since has been a major event. Plus, who doesn't love a good siblings kiss?
Coming in at number 2, the Rubiks Cube. Invented in 1974, it fascinated people around the world. Erno Rubik made it as a learning exercise for his students as he was an architecture professor. By the 80s, it became one of the most popular toys of all time. Over time, speed cubing became its own sort of sport with its own competitions worldwide, where people solve Rubik's Cubes as fast as possible.
Number 1, hair. There was some funky hair in the 70s, but mutton chops were top tier. Other styles were blow-dried, bouffant, spiked, bleach, and the list goes on. It was one hairy decade.